Over on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are getting back up to speed after the Thanksgiving break. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has told his colleagues to expect to work long days and nights, including weekends, in the final weeks of this session. Meanwhile, the House is tasked with the potential ouster of Congressman George Santos. A resolution to expel the controversial Republican lawmaker was introduced last week. Santos has said he expects it to pass. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion joins us now from Capitol Hill. So, Nikole, they're going to have to shake off that turkey malaise and just get right back to business as quickly as possible. What's the timeline on a possible expulsion for Santos?
Well, it's possible we could see action taken as soon as this week, but there are a lot of things that are contingent upon that. As you mentioned, there's already been an expulsion resolution that was filed by the chair of the Ethics Committee, Congressman Guest. That was a little over a week ago, but he did not file it as a privileged resolution, and that matters because that essentially would trigger a vote where the House would have up to 2 days to vote on this expulsion resolution. So whether or not he moves to make this a privileged resolution is something that we will be watching for. But if that does not happen, there are other members waiting in the wings to reintroduce their own resolutions, many of them Democrats who could also act as soon as this week. So it really is a matter of which member kind of pulls the trigger first and if that vote is ultimately held. We did hear from Speaker Johnson Monday, who said that he talked extensively with Congressman Santos. Congressman Santos also acknowledged that he spoke with the speaker and said that he will stand for expulsion. And that is something that he has conveyed even to us in recent weeks, that, he will kind of accept the outcome of whatever happens.
It certainly seemed like prior to this moment, one of the things that lawmakers were considering was, what are we going to do if we lose another Republican? So I'm curious about, how his expulsion factors into other important issues that need to be addressed.
Well, I think I would, separate the two things out. I mean, obviously, if we see another expulsion vote, again, part of this is in response to that pretty damning ethics report that came out just before the holiday break, which accused Santos of deceiving his donors, misusing campaign funds for his own personal lavish expenses. But, with respect to, for instance, funding Israel and Ukraine, that is something that, is kind of handled separately, in the sense that right now, for instance, here in the Senate, we know that there are a bipartisan group of senators that have been trying to reach agreement over the issue of the border, because you have many congressional Republicans, both in the Senate and the House, who believe that any additional Ukraine aid should be conditioned on a stronger border policy beyond what the White House has proposed. So really all eyes are on the Senate in terms of how that ball moves forward. Of course, there will be discussions too about Israel aid as well among congressional Democrats, who, some are now arguing that there should even be conditions put upon that aid. So those discussions are happening, I think, independent of what we're seeing with George Santos.
And so one of the other big issues that they're going to be weighing is foreign aid proposals. Last night on America Decides, you spoke to Senator Bernie Sanders, and the senator shared his thoughts about what he needs from Israel before signing on to an aid package. I'm going to play some of that sound.
We have got to say, you know what? We need some thoughts and movement forward toward a two-state solution to deal with the crisis in the West Bank, where Palestinians are being thrown off of their land and are being killed. So we need, in my view, to say, if you want money from the United States, you know what? You got to hear what we want as well. We just can't get a blank check.
So what can you tell us about the status of aid for Israel and the conversations taking place on Capitol Hill about it?
Well, again, there will be discussions here on the Hill later today, particularly among Senate Democrats, over this issue of whether or not aid should be conditioned to Israel. We heard from President Biden over the weekend, who said that he thought it was a worthwhile thought, but the White House continues to argue that they believe that their current strategy and posture is working. So unclear if the White House is really seriously considering conditioning aid for Israel. That being said, that is not stopping some Democrats from kind of taking up the discussion. And you heard there from Senator Sanders kind of reaffirm that in the sense that while he told us yesterday on America Decides he believes that Israel has the right to defend itself, it should not be at any cost. And so that's kind of what he means when he says there should not necessarily be a blank check. And he is not the only member of Congress who feels that way. So that's why that is a discussion that some Senate Democrats will be having later today during their policy lunch.
Yeah, it was a good interview with Bernie Sanders, Nikole. Thank you very much.
You bet.